simple man and with 3 children and a wife. Before coming here to become a fisherman and settling down with my family, I had problems in my hometown. Before I came here, I was not a man of God, with me being ignorant and not listening to my father. The following week, he died of a heart attack, and I left my mother while I was on the boat heading to Boston. Feeling grief-stricken, I was lost and had no one to rely on except God and the Bible. I would like to share a quote from the book of Daniel, chapter 9, verses 9, which states, "The Lord is merciful and forgiving, even though we have rebelled against him. As I have sinned, I prayed and asked God to forgive my wrongdoings." Being accepted to his church would help me become closer with God, and hopefully I can help those who have problems of their own.
Any more questions?
Just start.
Did you come from Ireland? You have a green computer. Oh.
I recently came here from England. I was a dedicated assistant to Thomas Wentworth. He was the first Earl of Stafford, and I come to Massachusetts with loyalty and determination and a strong conviction to God, because I traveled around Europe with him, and a lot of the stuff that I saw, I believe, was the devil's work. There's a lot of crime and violence, and I think that my faith in God kept me from doing bad stuff when I was surrounded by it. I came here with no family or friends, so I want to be accepted into a church because it's like a family. And I think that I will be loyal to everybody in the church, and I could bring new perspectives on religion. And the only way to achieve eternal salvation is through good works and like reading scriptures. And I feel like the only way that I can do that is with a church family. And I think that you guys should let me in, because a good Christian always does good for his brothers and sisters. So you guys should accept me into your church. And that's it.
So you said that it was through good works and scripture that you achieved salvation, right?
No, I'm saying that I need to continue to do that in order to go to heaven. So I need to be in a church where I can have access to scriptures and stuff.
So you need us.
I need God in a church. Yeah.
What's your name?
James Johnson. James Johnson.
He did not give a lot of personal stuff, right?
Said that I don't have any friends or family.
I'll ask a question then. How do you have any friends?
Because I left them all in England because they're all bad people, and I wanted a new life.
Do you have an occupation?
I did. I was an assistant, and I feel like I could assist and help with stuff in the church now.
What were you assistant at? Where?
Where? I was an assistant to the first Earl of Stafford in England.
Who was the first Earl of Stafford?
I said Thomas Wentworth.
Thomas,
He was the first Earl of Stafford.
What is an Earl?
A position.
Does he like Puritans?
Does he what?
Does he like Puritans?
He's not really religious, and that's why I had to leave.
So would you lean more towards his views, or do you have your own?
I have my own views. That's why I left and came here.
But you're still loyal at the same time.
I was loyal, but I didn't do anything like bad.
So why did you decide to quit?
So I can start over with the good people that are here.
Yay!
I would say yes.
Alright. Yes, but you should go. And no?
And Henry, you were JJ, right? James, okay. James and Henry to our church. We feel that they are going to be good helpers in our Puritan church and one of their families. What else to say? I don't know what else to say.
You have to stay there. Some of them will probably ask to present something.
I'm not manager. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
What now?
Go into the debate where it's, right? Don't record this because it's a question. Where we fight about.
Tell her you're going to
who's
present.
going to be excommunicated. Right?
We want you to hear our views or something.
Yeah, can I view my view?
Yes.
Do I have to get up and do this? Can I sit down?
Very well done.
Okay. I'm Kristen, and I am the first friend of Anne. So
Hi, Kristen.
Tina, thank you. Anne Hutchinson was exiled because she was ultimately viewed as a threat. A woman firm in her beliefs, Anne was not willing to back down from what she believed God had told her, simply to pacify the governor and the pastor. The main argument that arose between the two groups was essentially what in fact leads to your salvation. The pastor, governor, and certain members of the colony believe that in order to be saved, one must do good deeds. This concept is as simple as it sounds. If you want to go to heaven, you have to do the right things. Miss Hutchinson does not necessarily completely dispute doing good acts. She is moral and a religious woman who believes in being a good person. Her disagreement with the pastor does not make her immoral or bad. Anne just disagrees that your acts are what determines your eternal life, or eternal fate. Sorry. Anne's beliefs on what saves the eternal soul differs greatly from the message that is being preached to the colony. She argues that it is not the good deeds you do that save you, but rather it is God's good grace and love that saves you. God, who is the all-powerful, has given us a gift of his forgiveness, and that is what leads us to heaven. For Governor Winthrop or the pastor to claim that our acts as human beings can govern our eternal fate undermines the supremacy of God. As mere creations of God, we do not have the option of choosing what happens to our soul, and to even suggest that we can control our destination is blasphemy. Unfortunately, Anne was not ridiculed for her beliefs, but was not just ridiculed for her beliefs, but was shunned from the community, placed on trial, and ultimately exiled for it. As members of the Puritan faith, none of us are new to scrutiny. We have all faced brash punishment for our beliefs, and what has happened to Anne just proves that we have not truly escaped the religious tyranny that brought us to this country in the first place. These colonies, sorry. Practicing members of the faith are entitled to read and interpret the Bible for ourselves individually. Did she claim that God had spoken to her directly? Yes. But who is to say that he did not? That being said, even if God hadn't spoke to Anne, which no one can prove, should she be banished for exercising her right as a Puritan for further investigation of the faith? Governor Winthrop and the other members of the colony claim that Anne blasphemed when she claimed God spoke to her. Couldn't we argue that through preaching human choices, ruling divine decisions is also blasphemy? Anne Hutchinson is a God-loving woman who never acted violently or put forth drastic actions to cause harm to others, yet she is treated like a criminal and cast out of society. As friends of Anne, we would like her to come back. To allow her to stay in exile is allowing Winthrop to say that if you disagree, you are no longer a part of the community. If it could happen to Anne, it could happen to you.
And by her spreading that to other people, she will make other people think they can do whatever they want and will still go to heaven because they were saved by some inner voice of God.
Well, Anne didn't say that you shouldn't do good acts. She just said that doing good deeds is not what solely saves you, and that it's God's forgiveness. She wasn't preaching to everyone not to do good things or to do bad things, and that's kind of your job as a pastor,
Yeah,
to steer them in the right direction.
by her saying that that there's no responsibilities, there's no works that you have to do in order to save yourself. By her preaching that, it just makes people think that they don't have to perform good deeds and our community would be wicked.
Well, she wasn't really preaching it. She was just saying, through her investigation of the biblical texts, that that wasn't what saves you. And she wasn't saying that you shouldn't do good things. She was just saying what she had found in the text. She wasn't inciting a riot, or she wasn't doing bad things.
But that is like saying that
Holding her responsible for what other people haven't done yet because of her views isn't. That's why the Puritans were kicked out of Europe, because they were looking into the Bible too.
no, she can't say it. That's okay.
What?
She's not allowed to say that God talked to her because
She's not allowed.
People believe that
Why isn't she allowed to say that God spoke to her? Because you don't think.
so many people who have not heard God's voice believe that they're inferior to her.
But what if God did speak to her? Do you know that God didn't speak to her?
Because that's not how you want to. That's not how you get assurance of salvation. Son.
Did God tell you he didn't talk to Anne?
No,
So how do you know he didn't speak to her?
did God tell you that He did talk to Anne?
No, and I never said that he absolutely did. I'm saying that aside from all that, she was kicked out. She didn't do anything bad except for what you see as bad as reading the Bible and interpreting it in her own way. Yeah.
You just said that the Puritans were exiled from Europe, right?
They were looking for religious freedom, yeah.
Right. So you're a Puritan, right? I think.
Yeah.
We're all Puritan. So then, if we were exiled from Europe, right, as a Puritan community, exiling somebody else that doesn't believe in what we believe in, why is it a big deal when she could just start something somewhere else?
Well, it's not that why is it a big deal when she could start something somewhere else. It's we were kicked out of Europe for our religious beliefs, and after everything that the Puritans have gone through because of that, why would we exile someone else for fighting for what we fought for there that got us
protect
kicked
what
out?
we believe in. She can fight what she believes in, but what we believe in, we want to protect it, keep it where it is. And she could go somewhere else and do her own thing.
But how do you know what you believe in? Through the pastor and the church?
That's what the paper says.
So it's not that she's still a member of the church and she's still a religious woman, but she just interpreted it differently, and because of that she's being punished, and the punishment seems a little over the top.
Harsh, right?
Harsh, yeah.
If she did go and start her own thing, that's a never-ending cycle of people constantly creating their own exclusive clubs of salvation. How are we really going to find that one truth that is inclusive of everybody? We constantly keep taking people out that
Like,
disagree.
off the books, off the records, I agree with that, but like, on the books, it's like,
As Puritans, we right now, all followers shall be aware that her voice from God is pure blasphemy, and the only true word from God is through the Bible. As in the Puritan faith, this is what we believe, and we will not stand for any claimed Puritan, as Ann Hutchinson has claimed to be, do not stand by our faith, or more importantly, question it.
So she's saying, you're saying that she's blaspheming because she said God spoke to her, and that goes against the Puritan idea, right?
Because the only word that we believe is through the Bible.
But the Bible doesn't necessarily say that God can't speak to you, and that's blaspheming if you said he did.
More importantly,
God spoke to Moses, and he told everyone that, and no one accused him of blaspheming. I'm not saying Ann Hutchinson is Moses, but there are plenty of people in the Bible who claim God spoke to them, and no one could prove that he had or he hadn't. They had to go on their beliefs. And our side could say that Governor Winthrop and the members of the colony that support him are actually the blasphemers, because they're claiming that as humans who are less than God can control their fate by doing good deeds, when ultimately God's the only one who can decide that, and you can't just do good things because you're trying to save yourself, because that's not, you're trying to dictate your salvation.
Well, that's not what we believe.
What is it that you believe?
We believe that there's a few that's already have been selected before who are elected that will be saved.